We don't see things as they are, we see them as we are. Anais Nin. Ever wondered why the ones who see the deepest often suffer the most? The ability to read a room, to sense what's hidden, it feels divine, until it doesn't. Because the moment you see what others refuse to, you stop belonging to their world. It's not blindness that protects people, it's illusion. And once illusion shatters, you can never go back. Hold this line, what comes next flips everything you thought awareness meant. Ever notice how every social interaction feels a bit rehearsed? It's like everyone's reading from an invisible script. How are you? I'm fine. Cue the polite smile. Nobody means harm, they're just playing their parts. It's how we keep the peace, like background music that hides the silence. People fear silence more than truth. So they fill it with pleasant noise, compliments, small talk, safe topics. Beneath that surface, though, something stirs. The tension between what's said and what's real. The air hums with everything left unsaid. He's seen it too many times, the forced laugh at dinner, the quick glance between two friends pretending nothing's wrong. Society runs on these little lies. Not out of evil, but survival. Because if everyone dropped the act, even for a minute, the whole play might collapse. And that's the unspoken contract, don't look too deeply. Keep the harmony, avoid the cracks. Yet some people can't help but see through the mask, can they? They sense the discord under the melody, and that's where the real danger begins. Some people just see differently. They don't look at faces, they read them. A twitch in the corner of the mouth, a breath held too long, the way someone says, "I'm fine," when their energy whispers otherwise. It's like walking through the world with subtitles turned on while everyone else watches the movie blindfolded. And it's not something they can switch off. Rooms speak, voices reveal, even silence has texture. This kind of seeing can feel like both a gift and a curse. Because once you notice the truth behind people's eyes, it's hard to unsee it. Awareness changes everything, especially relationships. People sense when they're being seen that way. Some pull back, others project their discomfort outward. They call the seer intense, too much, overly sensitive. But what's really happening is reflection, the mirror effect. When truth stands quietly in front of someone, it's hard not to flinch. So the seer walks between worlds, part of the stage, yet never fooled by it. They can't join the dance without feeling the rhythm of everyone's hidden thoughts. And that isolation, it grows louder each day. Because seeing clearly often means standing alone. There's a moment when clear seeing stops feeling like clarity and starts feeling like exile. The seer looks around and realizes they're standing in a different kind of weather, one where honesty chills the air. Conversations that once felt easy now sound hollow. They try to fit in again, but it's like speaking a language no one else remembers. This loneliness isn't about being without people. It's about being unseen among them. They can't unhear the false notes in everyday talk, can't ignore the energy that says one thing while the mouth says another. It's exhausting to keep pretending not to notice. So they drift, not out of pride, but self-preservation. Take Sarah, for instance. She could sense when someone was hiding pain, even through a smile. At first, friends admired her intuition, until they realized it worked on them too. They withdrew. They said she made them uncomfortable. And slowly, Sarah learned what every seer eventually does: people prefer comfort over truth. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? The more light you see, the darker the room can feel. Yet maybe that solitude isn't punishment. Maybe it's preparation for a choice that's coming next, one far harder than being alone. Sooner or later, the seer faces a choice: tell the truth or keep the peace. Speaking up feels like stepping into a storm. You say what everyone secretly knows, and suddenly you're the problem. The room freezes. Smiles tighten. Truth, it turns out, is rarely welcome at dinner tables. But silence carries its own poison. It eats away slowly, the quiet betrayal of pretending not to see. Each time the seer swallows truth, a little piece of their vitality fades. They become split in two, the one who knows, and the one who performs. And that fracture is where the real suffering begins. Still, sometimes it's not about what you say, but how. Truth spoken without wisdom cuts. Truth spoken with grace transforms. It's an art, learning when to reveal, when to stay silent, and when to let silence speak for you. Even Thoth, the god of speech, knew words shape worlds. So the seer learns to breathe before speaking, to feel the weight of words before releasing them. Maybe you felt that too, the tension between expression and restraint. But there's a deeper test ahead, one that flips this tension completely. What happens when truth itself makes you the target? If this is hitting close to home, take a second, like the video, share it, and stay with me. What comes next goes even deeper. Here's the cruel irony: people don't hate the truth, they hate being reminded of it. The seer becomes the mirror no one asked for. When someone feels seen too clearly, they often lash out. It's easier to blame the mirror than to face the reflection. That's how the truth teller becomes the villain in someone else's story. You've probably seen it happen. Someone points out what's wrong in a group, and suddenly they're the negative one. It's not the message that's intolerable, it's the discomfort it awakens. The group's instinct kicks in: protect the illusion at all costs. And so, the one who sees too much gets quietly exiled. That's the defense mechanism of the collective. Shoot the messenger. It's ancient, primal. By attacking the seer, people restore their sense of normalcy. It's not logic, it's emotional self-preservation. The truth destabilizes, so the group finds an enemy to stabilize against. And often, that enemy is the one who dared to care. But here's the deeper wound: the seer starts believing the lie about themselves. They wonder if they are the problem, if maybe they should dim their light. Don't. The fire that unsettles others is the same one that will guide you through the next danger, when the boundary between your energy and theirs begins to blur. Sensitivity is a double-edged sword. The same awareness that perceives hidden emotions can start absorbing them. The seer walks into a room and suddenly feels heavy, anxious, sad, and none of it is theirs. It's like their empathy forgot where the boundaries end. What began as perception turns into possession. The body feels it first, the fatigue that has no cause, the fog that rolls in after a conversation. They pick up others' storms without realizing it. Because empathy without grounding isn't compassion, it's contagion. And when you carry the world's emotions, you start losing track of your own. That's why discipline matters. A short practice, closing the eyes, exhaling slowly, imagining your energy returning to you, can work wonders. 10 seconds of conscious breathing can seal what's been leaking all day. Awareness without containment becomes chaos, awareness with breath becomes power. So the seer learns to stay porous, but not penetrated. To feel deeply without drowning. To sense the pain without becoming it. Because once the energy stabilizes, a new understanding begins to dawn. one that reveals the hidden architecture of the entire social game itself. There comes a moment when the seer finally steps back and sees the whole pattern, not just people, but the system beneath them. It's a grand illusion, elegantly self-sustaining, everyone protecting comfort, everyone terrified of being truly known. The danger was never awareness itself. It was unconscious awareness, seeing deeply without knowing how to stand in it. Once they name the pattern, everything softens. The chaos stops feeling personal. They realize they're not cursed, they're conscious. That's a turning point. Because when you witness reality instead of wrestling with it, perception turns from burden into clarity, from noise into signal. Think of it like learning to surf waves instead of being pulled under. The sea doesn't change, your relationship to it does. Observation replaces reaction. It's the shift from, "Why is this happening to me?" to, "Ah, I see what's happening here." That tiny change rewires your entire emotional circuitry. And that's the discipline, to see without fixing, to understand without absorbing, to be present without playing the role. Because sometimes the greatest transformation isn't intervention, it's stillness. And that lesson leads straight into the rarest form of wisdom there is. At first, awareness makes you want to fix everything. You see the lies, the pain, the confusion, and you think clarity alone can save it. But here's the secret: truth doesn't always need your help. Like muddy water, it clears best when left still. Interfering too soon only stirs up more sediment. So the seer learns restraint. Not the cold kind that shuts down empathy, but the wise kind that trusts life's own intelligence. Every situation has its timing, its rhythm. Some problems untangle naturally when no one's pulling at the threads. That's not apathy, that's alignment with the deeper order of things. It takes courage to watch chaos and do nothing. To sit in stillness while the urge to help claws at your chest. But that's how true clarity grows, in the quiet after reaction. Even a 10-second pause before speaking can turn interference into insight. Try it. You'll feel the difference immediately. And here's the paradox: when you stop forcing change, change happens faster. Presence itself becomes medicine. People start to soften, events reorganize, balance returns. And that effortless realignment prepares the seer for the next stage, a shift not in others, but in their own presence. Something beautiful happens when the seer stops trying to change people. They begin to relax around them. The energy shifts. The air itself feels softer. Awareness without judgment feels like sunlight through an open window, warm, gentle, safe. It doesn't demand transformation, it invites it. Others sense it too. They start to open, sharing things they've hidden for years. They feel seen, not exposed. It's the difference between being examined and being understood. That's when awareness becomes medicine, when it no longer cuts, it heals. Presence turns into sanctuary. The seer realizes that perception is less about knowing and more about allowing. When you hold space without agenda, life reorganizes itself in your favor. Conversations deepen, conflicts dissolve, and even silence becomes eloquent. Reality feels lighter, like it's finally exhaling through you. And as that transformation deepens, a new challenge arises, one that tests the heart, not the eyes. Can compassion exist without compulsion? Can love observe without trying to control? That's the next refinement of the path, and it changes everything. Compassion looks a lot like control until you check your motives. One comes from love, the other from fear. The seer learns this the hard way. They want to help, to guide, to ease the pain they see, but sometimes that urge hides an ego craving to save. True compassion, though, doesn't rescue. It respects timing. There's a humility in realizing you can't accelerate someone else's awakening. You can open the door, sure, but they have to walk through. Even Thoth never forced truth on the unready. He offered it in symbols, so each soul could decode it when prepared. That's divine patience, the art of letting wisdom ripen. It's easy to confuse empathy with absorption, or care with sacrifice. But mature awareness holds boundaries like sacred temples. You can love without leaking, serve without losing yourself. It's not detachment, it's balance. A quiet confidence that trusts the unfolding instead of managing it. So compassion becomes calm. It's no longer a rush to fix, but a steady warmth that restores. And that shift, from doing to being, marks the final evolution. The seer begins to integrate, not as observer or outsider, but as a whole, anchored human being. Integration begins when awareness stops floating above life and starts walking within it. The seer learns that clarity without grounding is just a spotlight with no stage. So they build anchors, routines, solitude, stillness. They meditate not to escape the world but to stay steady inside it. Awareness matures into presence. Boundaries become sacred now. Emotional, energetic, even conversational. Not walls, but filters, like temple gates. They let in what resonates and release what drains. It's not selfishness, it's self-respect. You can't hold light for others if your own vessel keeps leaking. The seer learns to trust their perception but not worship it. To see deeply without clinging to being right. They stop chasing meaning and start embodying it. That's the difference between an observer and a sage. One analyzes reality, the other lives it. That's how awakening finds balance. And as this new strength takes root, something surprising unfolds. The isolation begins to dissolve. What once felt like exile starts feeling like freedom. Because the final paradox is waiting, the one that turns the burden of sight into its greatest liberati. Here's the twist no one expects. The same awareness that once isolated the seer becomes the bridge that connects them back to life. What once felt like a curse turns into clarity. They no longer see through people but into them, without judgment. The vision softens. The world stops being an autopsy and becomes art again. The trick is balance, holding perception lightly enough that it illuminates, not devours. Awareness loses its sharp edges and becomes luminous. The seer laughs more now, not because life hurts less, but because they finally understand its rhythm. Even pain has poetry when seen without resistance. And then something sacred happens. They start meeting others who see too. Kindred eyes across the noise. Suddenly, the burden of sight turns into communion. They speak less, but mean more. The loneliness dissolves, replaced by an invisible fellowship of awake souls quietly walking among the sleeping. So the journey completes its circle, from illusion to isolation, from awareness to wisdom. The seer learns to live with eyes open in a dreaming world, awake, peaceful, and deeply kind. And yet, that's only the beginning. Because once you see clearly, the real question emerges: what will you create with that SI? Maybe now you see it. Awareness isn't a crown, it's a discipline. It asks you to stay awake in a world built on sleep. To feel without drowning, to love without fixing, to speak without piercing. That's the quiet mastery few ever reach. So the next time you walk into a room and sense everything, pause. Don't armor up, don't shrink. Just breathe. Your stillness is your protection, your compassion, your power. That's how Thoth teaches, by silence, not sermon. If this journey stirred something in you, don't disappear back into the noise. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and stay close. We go even deeper next time. Share this with someone who feels too much. They might finally understand why. And if your heart whispered yes at any point, comment awaken. The next video awaits on the end screen, another doorway, another truth. Step through it. The path doesn't end here, it only widens.